Rome. The year is 390 BC. The city is burning. Gallic warriors have breached Rome's defenses, sacking what was still little more than a collection of villages. Homes are destroyed. Temples lie in ruins. Smoke fills the air. For most ancient cities, this would have been the end. But Rome was different. Over the next few centuries, this shattered settlement would rise from the ashes and transform into the largest, most powerful city the world had ever seen. A city of over 1 million people, spanning 3 continents, ruling an empire of 70 million souls. This is the story of how Rome did the impossible. Using modern AI tools, historical records, and archaeological evidence, we are going to reconstruct ancient Rome at its peak, not from above, but from the streets. We're going to walk through its buildings, stand in its most powerful spaces, and experience what it felt like to live inside the beating heart of the Roman Empire. The Roman Forum, heart of an empire. At the center of everything stood the Roman Forum. This single plaza controlled the fate of the ancient world. Here, laws were written, wars were declared, emperors rose and fell. Surrounded by temples, monuments, and government buildings, the Forum was not just a public square. It was power made visible. One of its most important structures still stands today, the Curia, the Senate House. Inside, nearly 600 senators gathered to debate the laws of the empire. These men controlled armies, provinces, and the lives of millions. The building's survival makes it one of the best preserved political structures from antiquity. Nearby stood the rostra, the speaker's platform. This was where history was spoken aloud. After the assassination of Julius Caesar, Mark Antony addressed the Roman people from this very spot. Ancient sources tell us he held up Caesar's blood-stained toga and read his will, revealing that Caesar had left money and gardens to every Roman citizen. The crowd erupted. So powerful was the speech that the mob cremated Caesar's body right there in the Forum. On that exact location, Romans later built the Temple of Julius Caesar, making him the first Roman ever officially declared a god. The sacred flame, Temple of Vesta. But the most sacred place in the Forum wasn't grand or towering. It was small, circular, quiet. The Temple of Vesta. Inside burned an eternal flame that had been kept alive for over 1,000 years. Romans believed that if this fire ever went out, the empire itself would fall. The flame was tended by the Vestal Virgins, women who served for 30 years and were required to remain celibate. Breaking that vow meant being buried alive. Yet these women held extraordinary power. They could own property, pardon prisoners, and move freely through Roman society, privileges no other Roman women possessed. The flame burned until 394 AD, when Christianity officially ended the ancient religion of Rome, Palatine Hill, where emperors lived. Above the Forum rose Palatine Hill, the most exclusive address in the ancient world. This was where the emperors lived. Rome's first emperor, Augustus, built a relatively modest residence here, the Domus Augusti. But centuries later, Emperor Domitian decided modesty was no longer acceptable. He transformed the entire hill into a vast palace complex. The Domus Flavia was a ceremonial palace designed for spectacle, state banquets seating hundreds, throne rooms with 30-meter-high ceilings, and architecture meant to overwhelm visiting kings. Right beside it stood the Domus Augustana, the emperor's private residence, hidden gardens, bedrooms, private baths. One palace for power, one for life. And then there was something else, a 160-meter private stadium. Domitian could watch chariot races, athletic contests, and gladiatorial combat without ever leaving home. The Circus Maximus was right below, but apparently, even that wasn't enough. Entertainment, blood, speed, obsession. Down in the valley lay the Circus Maximus, the largest stadium the ancient world ever built. Over 150,000 people packed inside to watch chariot racing, the most dangerous and obsessive sport in Rome. Chariots raced at speeds of up to 75 kilometers per age. Crashes were so violent, they were called shipwrecks. Drivers tied the reins around their waists, meaning a crash could drag them to death. But those who survived became superstars. One famous charioteer earned enough in his career to feed the entire city of Rome for a year. Fans were just as intense. Romans were divided into factions. blues, greens, reds, and whites. Riots regularly broke out, sometimes killing thousands. This wasn't entertainment, it was obsession. The Colosseum, where violence was the point. Yet Rome's most famous arena was the Colosseum. Smaller than the Circus Maximus, seating only 50,000 people, but far more brutal. Over 300 years, an estimated 400,000 people died here. Gladiators, criminals, prisoners, slaves. Hundreds of thousands of animals were slaughtered. Lions from Africa, bears from Germany, elephants from Egypt. A typical day began with executions at dawn, animal hunts at midday, and gladiatorial combat in the afternoon, all made possible by what lay beneath the arena. A two-story underground labyrinth where slaves operated 28 elevators, sending animals and fighters up through trapdoors. From the crowd's perspective, a lion appeared as if by magic. During the 100-day opening games alone, 5,000 animals were killed. Religion, the gods of Rome. When Romans weren't watching people die, they were worshiping gods. Temples filled the city, each dedicated to a single deity, except one, the Pantheon. Its name means all gods. Built by Emperor Hadrian, the Pantheon honored every god at once. Its concrete dome spans 43 meters, unsupported, with a single opening at the top, the oculus. Nearly 2,000 years later, you can still stand beneath it. The only reason it survived? It became a church in 609 AD. But Rome's most sacred temple once stood elsewhere, on Capitoline Hill. The Temple of Jupiter, visible across the city, was the spiritual heart of the empire for over 800 years. Triumphal processions ended here. Generals sacrificed to Jupiter after conquest. Today, almost nothing remains. Military power. The Praetorian Guard. Rome's gods gave it legitimacy, but its empire was built by soldiers. Breaking centuries of tradition, emperors stationed troops inside the city. The Praetorian Guard. Around 10,000 elite soldiers, paid 3 times more than regular legionaries, housed at the Castra Praetoria. They were protectors and kingmakers. They assassinated at least 13 emperors, overthrew dynasties, and once sold the imperial throne to the highest bidder. Their armor marked them instantly: silver scale armor, red crests worn side to side, shields bearing the scorpion symbol. Rome's greatest threat lived inside its own walls. Engineering. Aqueducts of a megacity. But none of this worked without water. Rome was supplied by 11 major aqueducts, including the Aqua Claudia, stretching 69 kilometers from mountain springs to the city. Stone arches rose 27 meters high, casually carrying fresh water overhead, powered by nothing but gravity. The Aqua Claudia alone delivered enough water for hundreds of thousands of people every day. Some sections still stand nearly 2,000 years later. Everyday life. How Romans lived. Rome wasn't just monuments. It was people. About 90% of Romans lived in insulae, multi-story apartment buildings, 5 or 6 floors high. Cramped, noisy, often unsafe. The higher you lived, the cheaper the rent, but also no running water and greater risk if the building collapsed or caught fire. After leaving their apartments, Romans worked and traded in places like Trajan's Market, a multi-level complex with over 150 shops, essentially the world's first shopping mall. And after work, everyone went to the baths. The baths of Trajan covered 11 hectares and could hold thousands at once. Bathing was a social ritual. Exercise, swimming, gossip, politics, business. Entry cost almost nothing. This quality of life wouldn't be matched in Europe for another 1,000 years. Rome's legacy. Rome was the first city to solve a problem no one else could. How do you make a city of 1 million people work? High-rise apartments, public infrastructure, shopping centers, stadiums, concrete, water systems. Rome invented the modern city. Fast forward 2,000 years. New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai. We're still living in Rome's blueprint. Rome didn't just build an empire, it built the future. Thank you for watching. What should I reconstruct next?